One particular industrial struggle that comes to mind and is significant is the struggle at the McCormick Reaper plant. For years, the Iron Molders Union had been very active and very militant, and the key union, and the McCormick family had tried for years to keep them from organizing, and every time they crushed them, they came back and they would win demands. But now, with the impending general strike, the McCormick family, that also was in charge of the Chicago Tribune and basically was the paper of record in Chicago and nationally in many ways, did everything it could to keep the iron molders and other union workers from winning their struggle, and so they locked them out. And so there was a lockout in the winter of 1886, and at the same time the general strike began spreading across America, and especially in Chicago, where tens of thousands of workers by April 25th already won the 8-hour day, was a particular concern to the McCormick family. And so they chose the route of lockout as opposed to allowing the workers to go on strike. And so they were bringing in scabs regularly, replacement workers, as some people like to call them, but union workers call them scabs. And this is particularly a focal point for the events at Haymarket because after the Great March on May 1st of 1886, where tens of thousands participated in Chicago, and the tens of thousands who had been marching all over the city and been confronting the police, usually because of the private employ of the corporations who used the police for their own purposes, there was a call. Many of the organizers, like Albert Parsons, went to other places. Albert Parsons went to Cincinnati. August Spies was scheduled to speak and did speak on the southwest side, right next to the McCormick Reaper plant on May 3rd of 1886. And as he was speaking to the lumber shovers who were on strike at a factory there, the workers were alerted that the shift change was taking place at the McCormick Reaper plant, and so they decided to support the workers who were challenging the scabs who were coming in by demonstrating and protesting. And within moments, the Chicago police showed up and started shooting and killed 2 workers, just literally shot, and the 2 of the workers were gunned down. And August Spies was horrified. As a writer and speaker, he decided he had to go back and write about this, and he did. At the same time, word got around that there had been this massacre of workers who were supporting the strike, the locked out workers at McCormick, and there was a call for a meeting on the night of May 3rd in Chicago, downtown, and workers got together, including a number of people who eventually became part of the state's campaign to crush the labor movement. People like George Engel, Adolf Fischer, August Spies, Albert Parsons, Michael Schwab, Oscar Neebe, and Samuel Fielden. And despite the fact that some of them never even really knew each other very well, there was a well-coordinated campaign, which I'll talk about in a few moments, about how there was this alleged conspiracy to commit violence and murder by these 8 men. The events, the tragedy that took place resulted, as I said, in a meeting on May 3rd. August Spies, in the meantime, was writing and issuing an important paper on the question, and his assistant editor, Adolf Fischer, wrote a leaflet calling for the demonstration to take place at the Haymarket as a result of this meeting that took place. And the flyer that Adolf Fischer first wrote, which was in German and English, called for a rally at the Haymarket Square at Des Plaines and Randolph on the evening of May 4th to protest the violence against the workers and the right to organize, essentially. And the flyer also said workers should come in full armed and in full force. August Spies, who was politically savvy, told Adolf Fischer that he would not speak at the rally if they issued that flyer, so the 200 that were printed were thrown in the garbage can. And they reprinted flyers without that term. So basically announced good speakers will be present, come to show your support, and lacked the fiery rhetoric that was on the previous flyer. And so the many thousands of flyers that were distributed, the 7x10 flyer, was hopeful that it would attract up to 20,000 people in the Haymarket on May 4th. But lo and behold, with bad weather and the lack of organization and to respond spontaneously to events, only about 2,500 people showed up that night of May 4th.